Victory, when it lingers too long without challenge, begins to feel like doubt. In the occupied lands of Mendev, King Aaron stood not in celebration, but in growing uncertainty. 3 days had passed since the fall of Queen Senyl, 3 days since he claimed control, and yet something was wrong. No word had come from Tyre, no messenger, no signal. Silence stretched longer than it should, and in war, silence was never empty, it was warning. Aaron began to consider what once seemed unthinkable: withdrawal, not out of fear, but calculation. If Tyre had truly fallen, then his position here, deep within Mendev, was more dangerous than he had allowed himself to admit. And just as that thought began to take shape, the ground beneath his certainty shifted. From the direction of Senyl, they came. Not in chaos, not in haste, but in formation. The soldiers of Senyl. Aaron saw them first from a distance, and even before steel met steel, something about them unsettled him. These were not men worn down by war, they were built for it. Their bodies carried strength like armor, even before the iron they wore covered them completely. Every movement was controlled, every step deliberate. They did not rush, they advanced. And in that advance, there was no fear, only purpose. For the first time since entering Mendev, Aaron understood what Senyl had tried to tell him. This was not a broken kingdom, this was its heart. At their center stood King Malu, alive, unbroken, watching. The illusion shattered in an instant, and the truth rose before Aaron like a blade he had not seen coming. The dead king lived, the weakened kingdom stood, and the victory he believed he had won slipped from his grasp. Yet what came next was not what he expected. Malu did not attack, he did not charge. Instead, he stepped forward and did something far more unexpected. He surrendered the ground Aaron stood upon, not as defeat, but as strategy. He allowed Aaron to remain, to believe, to settle into a position that now carried far more weight than advantage. It was a move that confused as much as it revealed, and in that confusion lay danger. Because while Aaron tried to understand what this meant, one of his own soldiers had already broken away, moving unseen, escaping the unfolding moment. His mission was clear: to find Senyl, to carry word of what had truly happened, and to bring him back. Because what came next would not be fought in parts, it would be fought as one.
Far from the shifting lines of war, on the salt isle where the sea still whispered its quiet truths, another transformation had begun, one far more personal, yet no less powerful. Queen Senyl had crossed a line she could no longer return from. What had begun as curiosity, then temptation, had now become something deeper, something rooted within her. She carried Dalet's child. The realization did not come with fear, but with a strange, overwhelming certainty, a connection that bound her not just to a man, but to a future she had once only imagined. Her thoughts of Dalet were no longer measured or cautious. They burned, stronger, more consuming than before. She found herself drawn to him not only in memory, but in desire for what they had begun together. The idea of their child, of what it would represent, filled her with a sense of purpose that began to overshadow even the traditions she had once guarded so fiercely. But the Salt Isle was not untouched by this change. Trade began to shift. Decisions once made with balance were now influenced by something more personal. Routes favored Sigrid. Agreements leaned subtly in Dalet's favor. The people did not yet speak openly of it, but they felt it. The rhythm of the island had changed, and with that change came questions, because a queen who once stood for peace above all was now being pulled by something far stronger than peace. Across the Eastland, the truth was no longer hidden, it was emerging. A king realized too late the depth of his miscalculation. Another revealed the strength he had carefully concealed. A message raced against time to unite what remained of power, and on an island once untouched by ambition, a queen began to reshape her world through love, through desire, and through a future that would not wait. The war was no longer approaching. It had arrived, and nothing would remain the same.